From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. So here we are now, moving our way into mid-June, and we're getting deeper and deeper into the Major League Baseball season. I would say at this point in time, the Minnesota Twins are clearly wild card contenders. That could be a path to the playoffs for the Twins. I guess they're on the fringe of the AL Central race. Detroit has been just scorching hot most of the season, so they're going to have to really try to run down the Tigers to win the division. But you lose Pablo Lopez last week, and they may not see him again. I know they think September might be the month he comes back, but whatever. Can they patch it together and survive without their ace?
No, they're going to need to score more runs. We know that because, without him, and Zeb Matthews is going to be out for a while. So, you brought Simeon Woods Richardson back up. So now you have everybody in the organization who has any experience at all is now in your rotation. So there are no further slip-ups and or injuries allowed if you're listening, Minnesota Twins players. We can't have any more. We've reached the limit. But, that's going to open the door, maybe for some rookie or something. But, yeah, sure, they could weather the storm. It's possible. I think I mentioned this to you on the radio. I mean, Cleveland lost Shane Bieber last year, 2 weeks into the season. Potentially he won a Cy Young before, could have won another one last year, and they ran to the ALCS. So it's possible.
Yeah, the LA Dodgers have lost like 10 pitchers. And
okay. They don't count.
They make moves when guys go down.
They don't count.
That's not going to happen here.
They don't count. I keep telling you. Yeah, they've lost
still Major League Baseball.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, they're at a different level than the Twins.
Goodbye, Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, right. They just let that guy go. He comes in and helps them win a World Series, and they say,
And now he's back. He boomeranged back to Detroit, and he may win another World Series with the Tigers the way they're going.
Well, he could definitely get there. Yeah. If he's going to have to play against his old team in the finals, I don't know how that would happen. But National League's that's pretty competitive with the Cubs now, too. The Cubs are awfully good, and that division.
No, I don't assume anything with the Dodgers, but I would say with the Twins, the other sticking point would be their division's very good. We now know that. So Kansas City and your Cleveland Guardians, I expect to be chasing that wild card spot. And still thinking they maybe can catch Detroit. That's going to be difficult. But then you look around Toronto. The Blue Jays were here a few days ago. They're in the same spot the Twins are in. Boston is hovering around, the wild card position. And then you have over in the AL West right now, Houston on top. And Seattle certainly is in the wild card mix. So there's a lot of teams battling, as there usually is.
Yeah, and they're all going to be looking for pitching when that trade deadline comes at the end of July. There's no doubt about it. Everybody wants some starting pitching. And then you look at the teams that are completely out of it, the Colorados of the world, the Chicago White Sox. Is there anybody or the A's, is there anybody on any of those teams that you want? Maybe this Shane Smith kid from the White Sox, but, he's young. I doubt the White Sox are going to want to give that guy up. I mean, there aren't a lot of possibilities. So you're going back to your original question. Can they weather the storm? It looks like they're going to have to with what they have. And the other thing is they're going to have to keep Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton and Royce Lewis healthy. If they keep those three guys healthy, they'll win enough to stay in the race. But that's just to stay in the race. I don't know how much further they can go beyond that.
Well, that's their core three. But as of right now, Royce Lewis, he is in a slump. I know he's showing some signs of life lately, but there's been some 0 for 30s in there, so he's got to really climb the mountain. And then Carlos Correa had a horrific start. He's hiked his average up into the 240s, but they still need more out of him.
No power from Carlos.
I think Byron Buxton, to me, he could be an all-star. Power numbers are there. I know he strikes out a lot, but the glove is excellent. He's gold.
If I was saying right now, he would be their all-star.
With Pablo gone?
He's their all-star.
And maybe Johan Duran.
Yeah.
To close out an all-star game.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, all right. Okay. One other note. Your Minnesota Vikings. They had their, OTAs And J.J. McCarthy was there, and with really no backups with any negligible experience in the NFL. Max Brosmer, the former Gopher, is in camp. Are you excited about that setup?
Well, I've been saying for weeks, I think you need a clear-cut QB2. Sam Howell is right now QB2. Then I believe it's Brett Rippon and Max Brosmer that following J.J. McCarthy.
Okay.
I just think it's a lot of...
It's a house of cards, man.
Exactly. It could crumble at any moment. There's a lot of unknowns. I get it. J.J. McCarthy comes in with a pedigree from Michigan, top pick, all that stuff. He's supposed to be the next Fran Tarkenton. But we just don't know what he has or what he's going to bring to the table. Now, the Vikings have made, I think, some good acquisitions in the offseason, fortifying the O-line, the D-line. There's a lot of talent on that roster. They got to keep JJ upright. I still say you got to go out and find a more established veteran just in case.
Couldn't agree more. All right, more to come. We are going to talk some college sports because it keeps changing every day. Pam Borton joins us next.
All right, we are 10K Takes, your Twins ticket.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
And we are 10,000 Takes. And boy, I tell you, the college sports landscape changes, it seems like on a daily basis. Of course, there's been NIL now for the last few years, and then you've got the portal, and then these players eventually, as you see over my shoulder, go to the WNBA. But the latest change, of course, is now colleges can officially pay players, and they're going to be part of this revenue sharing. And joining us now to talk about such things and a little bit about the WNBA as well is Pam Borton, former University of Minnesota head women's basketball coach. Pam, thanks so much for joining us. Since you have left college basketball, I mean, it has been a tsunami of changes in the last few years, and the most recent I'd like you to comment on in particular is this revenue sharing, which each school of the big conferences gets $20.5 million to pay out to players. How do you see this thing unraveling or raveling, if you will?
Well, raveling or unraveling for
Yeah,
sure.
both.
I just think just everything that you just kind of opened up with, we're watching a transformation of college athletics in real time. And it's not about tweaking the system, it's redesigning it. It's redesigning the whole system from athletic directors. And, the pay to play revenue sharing is going to be very interesting. I really think there's going to be more of even a separation from the power conferences to the haves and the have nots. And, it's also like, be careful what you wish for, because it wasn't was House versus NCAA. House was a swimmer, went through that whole thing, won, and now we have revenue sharing. And, for, moving down the road here, we might see and may see, what athletic directors being forced to make decisions on what sports we're keeping. Are we going to be able to afford all of these sports? We're not going to be able to pay everyone. And let's be real, 70% of that money is going to football, at least 70%. And, then you've got 10% probably going to the basketballs and then you've got another 10% to split up to if you have a great wrestling program or if you have a great volleyball program or if you have a great hockey program. People have some big decisions to make. And so what's going to happen with golf and swimming and some of those gymnastics and some of those non-revenue sports? So it's be careful what you wish for, because I really think there's going to be a bigger separation from the accelerating this whole professionalization of sports.
Yeah, the non-rev sports could get squeezed out by this new model. All right, so tell us what you know, Pam. If there's $20.3 million that'll be divvied up between 4 or 5 sports at most power schools, will there be the ability to add on to that with additional fundraising? We'll say here in Minnesota, let's say Pillsbury wanted to chip in $3 million. Are you allowed to do that? And then this is going to be a cap that has no ceiling. I'm hearing it's going to go up to $30 million here shortly. What do you know about all that?
Well, it just happened. It just happened a couple of days ago. So I'm sure that they're still figuring out what people can do and what they can't do. And but there's still that NIL money and the collectives, and you can get players money if you really want to. Like if you have a great pitcher on the softball team or the baseball team, some of those individuals are making money that way. But it's going to be interesting because athletic directors really have some, big time decisions to make, on who they're going to pay, who they're going to, who they're not, what sports are we going to keep, who are we going to invest in. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to make college athletics very unique.
For sure. Well, you had Lindsay Whalen, and for her, if there was this pay opportunity, she probably was going to stay 4 years because you can make as much money playing college basketball as you can in the WNBA in many cases. But what about the players that are a little bit further down, the totem pole that's not necessarily your star Lindsay Whalen player, somebody who is a starter, but maybe, they're going to make the WNBA. Do they stay in college all 4 years and get paid that way? Do they back out? I mean, what kind of difficulties is this going to present for the coaches?
Well, I think coaches have become, not necessarily just coaches. They become managers.
GMs.
They become like GMs. They've become managers. They have become, how can I make this more than just about money? I see in the business world now that I'm an executive coach, how can we add some values? Values matter. Mentorship matters along some of the NIL, the leadership development along this as well. How can we support some of these athletes that maybe not be a Lindsay Whalen or your starting quarterback beyond the money? So how can we strategically think about this on how we can keep some of these athletes that maybe aren't at that dollar sign value like some of the other players. So I think that's happening in the business world. It's like culture. It's how do we retain people? How can people add value? It's those values matter around, and then it's as a coach, how can we communicate this? How can we add some development in this? So there's a lot of strategy around this as well that coaches have to really level up in as well. It's not just about the X's and O's and coaching and practice anymore. It's how do I run a business and retain people in my program?
Yeah, and Pam, back to what Wally said about GMs. I was just down at Northwestern, took my kid to a football camp there, and met the general manager of the athletic department, Christian Sarkeesian, and that title blew me away. I'm used to it in pro sports, but not at the Big Ten level or any other colleges around the nation. Is that now commonplace, at least at the Power 5 schools, that you have to have a GM in place to really, kind of look at this whole thing from a broad viewpoint?
It's going to be like I think it's going to be really important to have a general manager. Someone that has been in the business world, someone that is entrepreneurial, someone that can see, the sports side, but also the players or financial literacy for the players. Like, what else do we need within our program just besides the X's and O's? But I think that GM role is going to continue to change, and evolve over the course of the next 2, 3, 5 years. And you see some of the professional basketball players like Stephen Curry is an associate general manager or assistant general manager at his former school. And, some of these professional players are becoming assistant general managers, maybe because they can donate money or provide some business acumen, some financial support as well. But I think that role is going to continue to evolve, and it's going to be one of the most important roles in a program or an athletic department moving forward.
I heard a number this past week. Somebody said that there are upwards of 5,000 players currently in the transfer portal in baseball alone. So do these kids who don't land in these D1 schools or in the schools that pay or in the schools that they might want to go to where they're going to get some playing time, do you think we're going to see a shift from players maybe dropping down to D2 so they can play and still get paid potentially, NIL money at D2, or maybe even go down to D3 to make sure that they're playing? I mean, I just think that might be where we're headed here.
I think you're right. I think everybody has a different reason for transferring. If they want more money, if they just want to play, if they want a different culture, or I want to use my fifth year somewhere else. But the transfer portal has become a double-edged sword. The empowerment for these athletes has been critical, is to giving them this opportunity. But we've also lost a sense of stick with it grit. And
yes.
Things aren't going well, or the coach looks at me wrong, or I only played 20 minutes and not 25 minutes. I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's being transferred into the business world. And if I don't like my role, I don't like the projects that are assigned to me, I'm not having enough one-on-ones with my managers, people are leaving companies. And so it's transferring not just in the college world, but the business world. So, but coaches are not just managing rosters, they're managing, free agency during this whole thing. But, I think I wouldn't be surprised what we see moving forward, Wally.
Pam, Cheryl Reeve very well. When I mention that name, I think we're talking about the winningest coach in the history of Minnesota professional sports. 4 titles, could have had one last year. They got robbed, and they're off to a great start this year. Do you think Cheryl has any desire to coach in the NBA if that opportunity ever came up?
Why?
Money?
I just, because you hear it floated out there, Becky Hammond, some of these names there, someday there may be a female coach in the NBA. And I don't know when. It would be a bold move. But do you think Cheryl would even want to do that?
Well, I think at this point, when you look at the WNBA, it's become there's a momentum in women's sports, and it's historic right now. And so it's not just about popularity. This is about people investing, the respect, creating sustainability from pathways to youth and pro. And I think Cheryl's more than just that. She's more about the holistic picture. She's more than just, it's like we're just seeing a movement. We're seeing a movement in sports. And I think she really, from what I know about Cheryl, I would see her wanting to be part of that. She's got a huge role. With the Lynx and the Timberwolves, she has a big footprint there. I think she's got a lot to say. But I think this is about the long-term investment of the sport, and I think Cheryl wants to be a big part of it and be part of that legacy moving forward. That's my feeling. I have not talked to her, but that's what I would think is going through her mind.
Well, Pam, we appreciate the perspective. I'm sure we'll be tapping into you again. Maybe a little bit later we'll talk more WNBA and as this season rolls along. But thanks again for stopping in.
Well, thank you. Go Lynx.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks. She is Pam Borton, the former University of Minnesota head women's basketball coach, with us here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us. More to come after this time.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings.
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
And we are Minnesota Scores 10,000 Takes. Well, you had a chance to hit the road a little bit, and we were been talking college sports and the changes. And some of those changes, we've seen physical changes at the University of Minnesota with the Athletes Village, of course, and Huntington Bank Stadium, which used to be TCF Bank Stadium. So, I mean, we've seen plenty of changes here recently, physically. In your opinion, and I know you were at Northwestern in the Big Ten and Notre Dame this past week, in your opinion, looking at those three facilities or those three campuses with the facilities that they have, how does the University of Minnesota rank?
I would say, based on going to a couple camps with my kid, that Notre Dame's practice facility is very similar to Minnesota's. I don't see a huge difference. I think Northwestern actually may have the top tier practice venue because it was for $270 million. It opened like 7 years ago, and the views in the field house, in the weight room, where you eat, all of Lake Michigan, all this glass, you can see the sailboats on the lake, the jet skis. It's incredible.
So you mean the views at the U of M out looking over all the train tracks and everything, that doesn't compare?
Not quite the same.
Okay,
man.
just thought I'd ask.
Downtown Dinkytown doesn't have a lot of curb appeal.
Fair enough.
But then the stadiums, Northwestern is getting a new one next year. Now, they'll be hot when that thing opens. Notre Dame Stadium is all about tradition. I was in there the other day.
It's big and old.
It is. There's no bells and whistles, but it's Notre Dame. The Gophers have one of the top college football venues in the nation, in my opinion. It's relatively new, Huntington Bank Stadium.
Right.
Look, a couple of years ago, we went over to Wisconsin and saw the Badgers play the Gophers in Madison. And I like going to Camp Randall and seeing all those Badger fanatics have fun. It's a great thing. But try getting to the press box. Oh, my goodness. They barely have an elevator. Minnesota is up to date when it comes to football. And Athletes Village is about as good as you're going to find. So the Gophers, in my opinion, don't really have any excuses. They have the facilities.
So they have no excuses for losing in football or not winning big in football based on what you've seen. What about the other sports, though? And I've heard, and we've heard this over and over again, they got to get rid of Williams Arena. It's 100+ years old, and kids don't want to see that. And I think, wait a minute. College athletes these days, they want a couple of things. In basketball, they want to make the NCAA tournament. They want to play, of course, and they want to get paid. None of those things figures into the arena. Williams Arena for game day, if it's filled, it's great. I mean, it'd be like any arena. Any arena that's half empty is no good. I mean, Carver Hawkeye, they're not drawing people like they used to. I think that's a sham. If people continue to bark up that tree, I think that's a mistake.
I agree, and they don't practice in there.
No.
So it's just where you play your games, and if they win, it'll fill up, and it'll be a very difficult place to play, like it used to be when Clem was in his heyday and Tubby had some of his success. I like the barn. And what's wrong with tradition? That's why Notre Dame Stadium is still what it is. Now, comparing Notre Dame to Minnesota, I realize is apples and oranges.
Yes,
but
it is.
I still love places like the LA Coliseum or Dodger Stadium or Wrigley Field or Fenway Park. Turn this into advantage. Camp Randall's on the National Register of Historic Places. Let's put the barn on that list. Why not?
Yeah.
Tell kids this. Educate them. They need to learn history, right?
Oh, boy. Heaven forbid. All right. More to come. We have Takes of the Day. You will not want to miss that. Coming up next, this is 10,000 Takes.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Wally and Eric from 10,000 Takes here in the land of lakes. And if you want sports of all sorts, check us out. We cover all the bases, all the teams in the great state of Minnesota.
Vikings, Twins, Wild, Gophers, Timberwolves, Loons, you name it, we do it. Late night Saturday night on Fox 9 Plus and on the Fox local app.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10K Takes on television, nothing but fun and games as we wrap up yet another episode.
Yes.
A big shout out to the viewers in the Twin Ports. That would be Duluth and Superior, and of course here in the Twin Cities, that would be St. Paul and Minneapolis. So you're huge up and down the I-35 corridor.
Well, you're a geography whiz.
I really am.
Okay.
You're a numbers geek. I'm a road geek.
Okay.
So,
all right, Mr. Road.
so we're going to find out what kind of road you're going to go down.
Okay.
Cranky Yankee, demanding diva, dare I say it, happy camper? I mean, it's summer, weather's warmed up, grass is green, the flowers are in bloom. What's your mood?
Are you done? Jeez Louise. Yes, it is almost summer, June 21st officially, by the way. So you're not good at that type
Late
of thing.
spring.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And so the high school sports season wrapping up. We saw the girls' softball championships played last week. Baseball state tournament is this week. And I have a suggestion for the State High School League. I know you may have heard me say this once before. I know your son playing high school baseball this season. Let's move the high school baseball season to the fall. Look, a lot of these games in April and even parts of May, cold and rainy, and they're practicing in gymnasiums ahead of that, and they got to go early in the morning to avoid all the traffic in the gyms now because you got volleyball, you got all this other stuff going on. Take baseball, especially in the big schools. I get it, the smaller schools, the athletes, the football players are probably baseball players, and one person, you can't be missing that many guys. So my suggestion, move it to the fall. Start the season in the middle of August. Have your state tournament in early October, and these kids come in ready to go. You can basically start as soon as we allow it, mid-August. Start playing baseball. They've been playing baseball all summer. You don't need tryouts. You don't need a lengthy tryout. Just get them going right away. Finish up in early October. Join a bunch of states that are already doing this. Minnesota State High School League.
All right.
Yes.
Let's check out that mood meter. He is a demanding diva.
Clearly.
Throwing down the gauntlet at the MSHSL.
Once again.
Based in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Okay, well, my take of the day. I want to give some love to Minnesota United, the Twin Cities Major League Soccer club. A check of the standings reveals that MinU has 30 points, tied for second with an expansion team, San Diego FC. Who needs the Chargers? They've got San Diego FC out there in SoCal. So here's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Those teams play Saturday night on the Midway in St. Paul at Allianz Field, which is a soccer cathedral. It's one of the top venues in all of MLS. Both teams are looking up at Vancouver. They're the top team in the West. So this is a good matchup. I believe the weather should be mild, should be just like San Diego. So if you're looking for something to do, and I don't work for MinU, I don't get paid anything to say this, go out and check out your local Major League Soccer club. It's a big one against San Diego FC.
There you go. Something to do Saturday.
Yeah, and on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks so much to everybody who made this show possible. We are 10K Takes, your sports ticket.